Hi, my name is Susan Foley, and I am the executive director of HESA, which is a nonprofit that was formed for Hashimoto's encephalopathy. We have written three books. We're on our third book right now. We have a website that's fantastic for any information that you might need. We do these interviews periodically to give people who are looking for a diagnosis or that have been diagnosed some information from people that have had the disease for quite a while that gives them, helps them give them some insight on what's normal, what's not normal. Everybody is completely different when it comes to this diagnosis, but it does help to know that somebody else might be going through the same thing you are and the treatments that they've used to help them get better. So today we're interviewing Kevin Evans and his mother, who guide him through this whole situation of being diagnosed and having this disease. Kevin, thank you so much for being with us today. Kevin, how old were you when you were diagnosed?
And I was initially diagnosed at 17, but there were some symptoms presenting themselves before the diagnosis of 17, around 14-ish. So there was a time period, unfortunately, that it was untreated and undiagnosed. So therefore, it left quite an extensive damage to my brain.
So it took that long for them to find a diagnosis for you. What did they think was wrong?
Unfortunately, there was some diagnosis that I had ADHD. There was another one. They were saying, "Oh, Kevin is just he can't pay attention to he can't do one thing at a time. So because he's juggling, he's trying to be hyper too much. He's unable to. It's just simple adolescence. That's it. Just simple adolescence."
What a crime, huh? How many doctors do you think you went to before you finally got that diagnosis?
Let's put up the fingers. Tell me how many fingers you have, because I'm talking in any and every form of pediatric doctor at the time I was going to. Totally random doctors too, and they all, each and every last one of them, had a completely different diagnosis and different assessment to me. And then literally, my parents are like, which way to go? Dr. A says one, Dr. B says two, and I'm talking several doctors with totally different diagnosis of my.
Unfortunately, we see that so often with people getting diagnosed, and it's worse when you're an adolescent because it's hard for you to explain to your parents or to a doctor how exactly you're feeling or to pinpoint it. And, you know, doctors shrug it off. You're a kid, right? You know, but thank goodness you finally did get diagnosed. And how did you finally get diagnosed, Kevin?
One doctor named Damon Salzman, he works at Sunrise Medical Center. He called and he completely randomly called. I never met him, never saw him. Hence, when you could see, I'm not to bring religion into it, you could see when God has helped, because totally random doctor called my doctors. I've heard of a very rare condition, and it's not likely, but just try this. Test his antibodies. Give him a spinal tap and see what his antibodies are. The chart goes to 5,000. My antibodies went up. Went.
Uh, wow. I do believe there's intervention there from somebody above. Let me tell you, right? There has to be. There
That's
has to be. So then what kind of treatments did they start giving you, Kevin?
IVIG steroids was the very first, and then they admitted, wait a second, we should have tried other steroids. Has enormous side. My steroids helps out one maybe two things. A million other things are the side effects.
Oh, definitely.
They
Definitely.
apologized the whole after years after being on it for 2 3 years. They apologized galore because they said each and every appointment took up until those 3 years that they took me off of it, I had a totally different set of symptoms. And they said, that is what steroids does. And they were like, I can't believe we did that to you. We ruined your childhood. I'm so sorry. And I said, no, I don't blame you. Hashimoto's ruined my childhood. Not your
Yeah,
fault.
that, the with prednisone, steroids, it's such a love-hate relationship because there's so many different side effects, and some people never get off of them. It seems like they're on there forever. And when you did get them in the beginning, you got that high dose, the I through the eye.
IVIG,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah.
Didn't even make it to the second day. The first day, I instantly was like, wow, I don't feel good. I couldn't stand, I couldn't nothing. The second day, halfway through it, started vomiting. Everything, every little symptom possible was happening. And they're like, we're giving him too much. And the doctor even admitted, wait, how old did you say he was? 13-year-old. What we gave him was for like a 40-year-old.
Oh my
I
God.
vividly recall hearing every last word of that. That's what we gave him was like for a 40-year-old.
Oh my gosh, Kevin,
But
that's terrible.
I was so sick. I was so sick. That was the least of I was scared for my life. I didn't know.
Uh, Plus it raises your blood pressure and
Mm.
diabetes and all that other side effects that it can do to you. Well, what treatments are you on now?
Now they have me on rituximab and Cellcept. Both are immunosuppressants and buddy medicines. So one, they work with each other and they help to accomplish giving my body stability. What happens with Hashimoto's, especially when it's been a prolonged diagnosis, it tends to weaken areas in the brain, especially the part where you use your memory. Those areas are so weak. So what the medicines that they're doing now is preserving what's left. There's
Oh,
if
okay.
they're unable to regenerate or create new tissue for the brain to get back to where it was. Because let's be very frank, there was an enormous, but that's because it wasn't being treated, and they were calling me any and every diagnosis they could, and not treating me and not getting to the root of the problem. So naturally, it was memory loss, confusion. I There were times I didn't recognize my own parents.
Oh, it's can get quite bad, quite bad. People can die from it. It's I don't think everybody realizes it. It isn't something that, and you have it for life. It's not something that can be cured. It's a chronic illness. What kind of symptoms do you have now, Kevin? Any?
To this day, if I don't have my notepad and whatnot to take all over the house, we call it Kevin proof.
Here's mine.
We call it Kevin proofing. Well, in your case, Susan proofing. Okay, what that means is, since I have a memory loss, you put little reminders all over the house. Right before the stairs, Kevin, watch your step. Nobody else. Nobody else in the house. Nobody else it applies to. I kept tripping. I kept forgetting where the stairs were in my own house that I born and raised in. The keys. I only have one key on my chain. I'm over there. Which key is it? Come on. It is really
I
serious.
shouldn't laugh, but I get it.
Yeah, really
I get it. I
serious.
mean, I well, as far as post-its go, I now when I'm in the kitchen, because if I bake or cook, I have to put the time. I put what's that from Facebook? I mean, Amazon Alexa. I put her on. Set the timer for 15 minutes. I'll forget.
Same,
There's
same,
no way I'll remember. I walk away and it's completely out of my mind.
same,
So
same.
I too have to have reminders, let me tell you. So were you ever able to go back to work, Kevin, or start working?
Good thing about that is that my parents own their own business. So my boss is my mom and dad. So I do work and I work for my family. And trust me, trust me, trust me. I tried volunteering in high school, nightmare. No, nobody understands. You're 13, you're 14. What are you talking about? You forgot. You had the best brain of everybody here in our work floor. No, that's not the case. Something's going on that I don't. I was 17 when I got diagnosed. Something's going on at the time. I'm 13, 14 years old. So I realized, you know what? This isn't, and they would send me home because they said I was being defiant. I was disobeying instructions. No, I couldn't remember what the
Uh,
instructions were. The instructions you told me from the beginning of the day, here it is. I'm talking 8 a.m., 7:30. What you told, and here it is now, 2. For my
that's bad.
turnaround, they, you're being defiant, so and so and so. They volunteer just for community. So they sent me home.
That's just awful. I feel so bad because when you're that age, especially, it's really hard to handle rejection or being accused of doing something that you're not. It's just you can't help it. It is what it is. Well, thank God your mom and dad have their own business and that you can work and they're totally understanding. I remember talking to your mom before, and I mean, that it's just perfect for you. I
See,
know I've often thought, Kevin, even at my age, the old age I am at, that I wouldn't mind a part-time job, but I couldn't do it because I don't know when I wake up in the morning how I'm going to feel. Or maybe an hour from now, how am I going to feel? And I can't imagine any business putting up with that unless it would be my mom or my dad or my son or my daughter, right? Because
yes,
nobody understands.
Charles.
Plus,
I
you have to get off
relate.
for your treatments. Well, that's wonderful. I'm really happy to hear that. I really am. So, what you said do you still have some symptoms left? Did you say you have still issues besides the memory issues?
Another thing too that happened eventually due to the antibodies being so high and having to take medicine to suppress it. Sad to say it, I get colds more than regular on a regular basis. So I have to go into the hospital for um they're giving me smart program antibodies versus my body's antibodies because of the sicknesses and colds that I get with because being an immunocompromised patient. So on a regular basis, I have to get immune system treatments.
I am the same with the IVIG, but yet I'm
Correct.
on Imurin, which is an immune suppressive um, medicine, which I've been on that for 10 years. And it often worries me that, you just don't know when you're on that strong
I
stuff.
relate. I relate. I relate personally.
But it allows us to um, live a halfway normal life, right?
No, I love it. Halfway, you're almost there. You're almost there. Keep going. I love it.
Our glass is full, it's not empty. I can tell you
What?
that. So
Beautiful.
tell me some more about you, Kevin.
First and foremost, I don't mean to turn this into a religious, but I'm a baptized member of Jehovah's Witnesses, and I absolutely love, love, love helping. That's what we go into our community and we help the neighbors, and naturally so, what we try our best to do is not say, here's what Kevin says, here's what Miss Foley said. No, here's what the Bible says. So a lot of what we're doing is reading, and the more you read, the more this gets stronger. So I've noticed It has been a lot, but my brain, its functions have been, it's been better. But that's because of my regular routine every day. It's helped a lot.
Kevin, I honestly will say this, that you sound better than you did last time we did the recording that didn't turn out.
Thank
You do. You sound even better.
Thank you.
So there has to be some truth to that.
Thank you.
Good for
Oh,
you.
my heart. Oh, you
I can tell, honestly. I can tell right away. So, what's your plans for the future? Do you have any?
Currently, we are still, for medicine wise, we are still considering the IVIG treatment and alternatives. The reason for it being is you take the IVIG treatment, you're at a high, but you can't take it every month, every two. You can take it periodically. Therefore, that high, when you take it, tends to do, tends to do and then you go back. No, I told the doctors I want to have a consistent treatment, consistent life, consistent symptoms. I don't want I'm a high, and then people are like, okay, I want to use Kevin for this, and then naturally so, my body starts fighting it off. You're supposed to be, oh, why? No, Kevin, you know why? You no, I don't.
Evan, I was exactly the same way. I was getting it monthly, and it took like a week out of my life because I would get it 3, 4 days in a row, and then I would be sick for a couple days after, and then I would get that high, go up to that high, and then I would sink back down. But I found for myself what works for me. Nobody even believes I am willing to do this. I go once a week. So that keeps me like this. So I get IVIG once a week, and I don't have the high and I don't have the low.
It's balanced. It's
Yeah,
level.
so there's an idea for you.
Oh, God, wow.
Yeah, it
You're
works
brilliant.
wonderful for me. Yeah,
Wow.
and I don't
Congrats.
get sick afterwards.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, no
That
headache.
happened to me. I got a stomach virus while I was in the hospital that time. And the doctors are like, we're sad to say this, but we kind of gave him enough 13, remember? We kind of gave him enough medicine to knock out a 40-year-old. What do you think was going to happen to a 13-year-old? That's
That's some
hindsight
fun
2020.
stuff. Yeah, you can't.
Mm-hmm.
So have you then, did you get any, what kind of side effects you were talking about? Side effects from prednisone. What kind of side effects did you experience?
every any imaginable bad side effect you can think of. I was having constant headaches. I was always hungry. I was gaining
Oh,
weight.
I
My
know.
my blood pressure, my sugars, my cholesterol. And to make it even better, because I was so aggressive and I was on edge. I couldn't even focus on. I could remember, but I couldn't focus when I did remember because I was so hyped up. Oh man,
Oh, you talking the typical steroid
helps one
reaction.
thing, it destroys a whole lot more. That's why I said no. It's not worth it. The pros are just sorely outweighed by the cons. Mm-mm.
Did you um end up with permanent diabetes from it? A lot of people do.
Sad to say it, I was pre-diabetic for a period of time. I'm talking the strictest diet ever. I had to be on for almost 4 years. Finally, I was 17, early 20s. No, you're no longer within that. I was like, I thought I was forever gone. A
Uh,
very, very long time. Very
that's
long
rough,
time. Mhm.
really rough when you're young. It's hard to understand why you have to do that. That's just the whole problem. But unfortunately, when you're first diagnosed with HE, that is the treatment they give you. to kind of give your body a little shock, and it does.
I relate. I know.
It does. It does. It gives you a little shock. So, you know, tell me a little bit more what happened when you finally got diagnosed. I know your mom was telling that story about, you had said that doctor called just by accident or from a miracle, right? What possessed him to call? What happened that that situation came to be?
My mom was working at the post office, and there was a letter, a flyer that they're sending out to the mailboxes of everybody. Memorial Hospital Memory Center. My mom looked. Stop the machine. It's a pro. They load the machine, and the machine send. Stop the machine. Stop the machine. Hold on, hold on. I just want one. She grabbed one of the things, took a picture, and called put it right back. You can continue. Sorry about that. Call the Memorial Hospital Memory Center immediately. My baby, he's 17 years old. Well, 15 at the time. And he doesn't, I don't know how to say this, but his memory is just gone. His games that I buy him, what games? He's always at the door trying to see which key it goes into. He only got three keys, one for the gate to get into the gate, one for the top lock, and one for the bottom lock. He never knows which one. He's every morning leaving school, leaving the house to go to school. Which key is it? Which key is it? Coming back from school. Which key is it? Which key? And we have Ring doorbell, so naturally, so she sees me on camera. Which key? And I'm talking. Which key is it? I don't know. And she's telling him it's not normal. That's not my baby. And sure enough, they replied, we typically only treat elderly patients that have Alzheimer's, dementia, things of that nature. But I'm going to run it by the doctor and see what he says. My mom said less than 30 minutes. Less than that, the doctor calls. The doctor wants to see Kevin. His interest is very piqued. He is wondering why Kevin, such a young age, is having literally Alzheimer's dementia symptoms. What is going on? Called me in, had the appointment. His name was Dr. Damon Salzman. Heaven sent angel in a human body. Kid you not. He ran all the tests on me, and then he admitted, none of the tests are coming back with any answers. I don't know, but I'm going to call around until I find out. He was a graduate of Harvard University. Harvard tends to have a law program, but their medical program is equally as good as their law. And they said, we have an idea. We've heard of this very rare condition. And it's one of the conditions that is by process of elimination. You don't just diagnose them with this on the very first test. You diagnose them after every test is coming back. There's a weird symptom, but it's not this. So sure enough, let's do a spinal tap on them. The spinal tap goes up to 5,000. Mine kept going. The doctor told me my results broke the system. It said error. That's how high it kept going.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
So sure enough.
That is such an amazing story. I mean, it's not a fun story for you, but it's amazing.
Thank you.
Right? I mean, and it is a diagnosis of exclusion. They can't just diagnose it. There's not any known antibodies. So, it's hard for them to make a diagnosis without doing the elimination and having high thyroid antibodies. But wow, unbelievable, I tell you. So, Kevin, how old are you now?
Just turned 30 in January 19th.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
My gosh. Well, so you've had this for a long time.
Yes, and the more it goes on, the more I appreciate the medicine and the doctors because it's a progressive and we have been keeping it at bay for a very long time. So
Isn't that wonderful to be in that type of a remission where it's a medical remission, but so what, right?
Yeah.
So what if I have to take medicine so that I feel better? That's fine with me. That's
Yeah.
how I look at it anyway, you know?
Beautiful, Miss.
Oh,
Beautiful.
so you have any words of wisdom for somebody that thinks they're sick, that they might have an autoimmune encephalitis or just got diagnosed?
I would have to say, from my personal experience, a support system is so crucial. I'm gonna openly admit I didn't know what to do because at that time I was just going through a million things. You can't do it by yourself.
I
My
agree.
mom called around. My support system is what helped me get the diagnosis and get on the right path. Have a support system. That's what brought me from the beginning all the way to where I'm at now. And I heavily recommend it. Have a very good support system.
I agree. I think it's so important to have somebody out there for you, support, advocating for you. When you're that sick, you can't advocate for yourself. And when with a brain disease, you don't have the facilities to be able to. Myself, I couldn't communicate at all or say what I wanted to say. It wouldn't come out of my mouth right. Um, you don't remember what you need to tell the doctor because so yeah, and at somebody to advocate for you and support. I agree 100%. I do. Well, Kevin, I'm gonna say that again, once again, thank you so much for sitting down with us and talking to us about it because I feel it's so important to get that information out there and have people listen to somebody else talk. There's nothing that's more important than to hear somebody else describe their journey and maybe they'll recognize something in themselves with it, right? Maybe, hey, maybe I'll try doing what Kevin did to start feeling better. I mean, there's just so many reasons why it's good to have these interviews for people. So thank you for sharing your journey with us.
My pleasure. It was all my privilege.
Well, thank you much, Kevin. So now